to write about. Trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist. Am I worth anything or just a scout? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Spending time all alone, sending my songs to the phone. Of a better home, we while focused on trying to hone this craft, witchcraft. I hope the brujas let this last. I don't know if the earth is painted.
That was great. Sounds Watts with Outside on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, with my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made, EZ Bluez is in the building. EZ Bluez, you're better with introductions more than me. Who do we have with us today on Behind the Brand?
The journey of music is one that can be fantastic. And I want to know what it takes to get the true charm in a party jam, to know that it is date night and to feel good as you break it down.
All right.
For that, we can only go to one person and one person only to have this conversation. This man is a wordsmith. This man is a musician. This man is on Zoom hanging out with me and Prestige. I want you to put your hands together. Not if you're driving. If you're driving, please keep your hands at 10 and 2, because we don't need any accidents. But mentally, put your hands together for the amazing, the fantastic, and this man is so good. King Kong ain't got nothing on him. Denzel Williams.
What's going on? I love that. Love that intro. Top. That's like the top number one intro I've ever had on the radio station. I love it.
Well, look, the other thing too is I love, like, with artists that I don't necessarily know of, like, as we're bestest of friends. Right. I love to go through the catalog and try to drop Easter eggs, because I want you to know we're paying attention before you even say the first word, and to how special you truly are, bro.
Oh man, appreciate that. Well, I definitely felt it. And yeah, I'm definitely remember that one.
Word. Well, for those that weren't playing the home game and couldn't figure out like what to do from the intro, what brought you to the journey of being a human and then saying, hey, I like music, I'm gonna try to make money off of music, because everyone tells you you can't do that. That's wrong. Hopefully you got a backup plan. How'd you get here, man?
So it really all started, if we go back when I was like 5, I would always sing like Al Green in my grandma's car. So yeah, she would be like, I would get an attitude if she ever skipped over Love and Happiness. She was like, you be in the back and you get mad at me. So that's kind of where I was just singing just as a child. Then 13, in school we always had there was like a poem month where we would write poetry, and I would always do very well in that part of the year, and that whole class. And then I kind of just started writing music, like songs and stuff, and was like, well, if I'm good at poetry, let's see if I can actually create some songs, because essentially they go hand in hand. And that's pretty much where it all began. And then I would, get beats off of like SoundClick and stuff. But then I was like, everything sounds so generic. So I did try my hand at one point actually producing my records.
Right.
But then, like, the more complex they got in my mind, the more I was like, I need to find an actual producer. And then that's when I started linking up with other producer friends of mine, Symphony Swing, also from Connecticut, PD3, also from Bridgeport, Connecticut, and Weezer Rascal, also from Bridgeport, Connecticut. So, and we just built a bond off of that, and I just took it from there.
Yeah, and it's so super interesting too, because it seems to be that common thread, that common journey, where you're growing up with music in the household itself, and again, I don't think you were copying an attitude that was unjust. I mean, I get mad when people skip that song. It's kind of, look, I'm not the hugest Leonard Skinner fan in the world, but I can't get out of the car until Freebird's done playing. That's just disrespectful. It's just disrespectful. So what? You tuned in and you gotta stop. You hear that note, you're like, I'm gonna waste 4 minutes of my life right now, but I have to.
Yeah,
I get it. I totally understand.
you
You know,
understand.
yeah. It is that journey. It is that growth and that depth. But then also going from the written word, dealing with poetry, and it really working so well into the songwriting aspect of it. Do you think that is because you're learning how to write structurally, or do you think it had more to do with the proper ayahuasca meditation?
I think it was like structurally,
Mhm.
um, because I I had done prior to poetry, I had done creative writing projects.
Hmm.
Like
Right.
as a kid, you kind of just your imagination is it could go anywhere. So a lot of the things that I wrote as a child kind of never really had any structure. It was kind of
Hmm.
like this is what's in my mind. Poetry helped me because like I learned about haikus and
Hmm.
all of these types of things. So there was a structure. So now listening to music and the music that I was raised on the majority of my life, like I always had that structure. Like
Hmm.
their structure was like, okay, there's a verse, chorus, another verse, bridge, and then outro to end the chorus. So like that, it did play a role in how I ended up getting into writing, and it did help me structurally because now like how I write songs is kind of like how I would write an essay.
Hmm.
It's for the most part, it's like
Mhm.
my hook is kind of like my thesis, and then everything after that is like the body paragraph, and I just have to tie everything in at the end of the
Mhm.
day and then make it make sense. So structure definitely helped me progress as a writer in the music industry anyway.
No, you wanted some. I love how you made that parallel because when I'm talking to young songwriters and they're always asking me like, "What do I do? What do I do?" I tell them go back and read as much Shakespeare as possible because he has. I'm going to say this word. I'm going to butcher this word. I don't care. Dynamic pentameter in
Yeah,
which there are a certain amount of syllables that have to hit at a certain point in time in every
yeah,
one of his lines, so it has that natural flow to it. That helps bring into the writing aspect of it. That helps bring into the melodic aspect of it. We have to remember a lot of our real first published writings that became mass consumed were poets.
right.
Dante's Inferno, the trilogy, is just really long poems. It's just a poem.
Mhm.
So and it has that type of structure that can lead so much to it, and you can have so much fun playing with it. And you can also, you don't necessarily have to stick directly to the format, but when you know that format, when you know the verse, bridge, chorus, outro, when you know that format, you can fake things. You can get verse, chorus, keys,
Yeah,
verse, verse, seven choruses. You know what I mean? You need to
exactly.
know the rules to understand how to break them. And it's so super, super important. And I absolutely love how you actually we got to say that
Yeah.
right here on air. Now, what is the most important thing for you? I know you say you look at it as an essay, you have your
Yeah.
thesis statement, and then you have to prove it throughout the aspect. Um, do you write a song as per meaning, or do you write a song as per words that can mess with each other?
Um, I I like to write with words, I guess that can mess with each other. I think
Hmm.
conceptually and just like I have a song uh called Back to Love, and like when I first recorded it, my engineer and producer Symphony, who at the time he was in there when I was recording it, he
Mhm.
him and my friend both asked, they were like, okay, so who's the girl
Right.
Hmm.
that you're singing about? And I was like, I'm not singing about a girl. And they're like, what are you talking about? I was like, if you listen to the lyrics, it's about R&B. It's my
Hmm.
love letter to R&B. I'm not talking about a woman. I was like,
Hmm.
it can be it can be taken as that. I get it. I was like, but if you really like listen to what I'm saying, and then they were like, oh wait, that's crazy. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, nah, it's not about a woman, but you wrote it as if it was. And I was like, it's because I care about the genre and I care about where it's being taken. I care about, I want to take care of it and make sure it's in the right hands. So I was like, I wrote that as a love letter. It started out that way. And they were like, wow, we never really thought. I was like, if you listen to the first few bars of the song, I was like, remember when it used to be cool to be okay to love?
Right.
And they were like, oh, wait. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I was like, but at the end, I say, I miss your sweet melodies, your beautiful soul and harmony. You mean just so much to me. Can you come back home?
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, oh, that's crazy that you wrote it in that fashion. And we thought it was for a woman, but you were really like, it's really just about R&B because I missed the melodies, the soul in it, the passion in it. I was like, it's all gone. I was like, so now I'm like, yo, can you come back home, get back to what you were really about in the first place? Like, let's forget all of this hip hop stuff. Like, let's get back to the essence of what R&B truly is and feels like. So I like to play with people's minds sometimes with records when it comes to it, to be like, oh, he's not talking about that. And that came from a lot of my favorites. So they did that. Like Michael Jackson would Leave Me Alone. People thought, oh, he was talking about a woman. I was like, no, he's talking about the media and the press. But listening to the record, it sounds like, so I like to kind of have that fun. But then there's times where like the words they mean exactly what they mean. It's pretty clear cut. So that's why I like to have fun writing in that space sometimes.
Well, and that's such a beautiful reality because yes, sometime a duck is just a duck, and sometime a duck is just what got autocorrected. And that's just the way things go. Whole bunch of people are like, wait a second, did he just say that? But no, that's really the truth of the matter, and I love how you wrote this beautiful metaphor, in which that comes down to, because that's the honest being about it. Like you can literally, in a certain way, I say it with my kids all the time when they're picking on each other or when they're trying to talk to each other on how to get something accomplished and they're just yelling at each other. Yeah, it's not what you're saying, man. It's how you're saying it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I could tell you I love you, like you're gonna be scared. Like, we run down the street and it's dark out and I'm like, oh, I love you. You're gonna run. You know what I mean? It's just the way that it goes. It's got to be that presentation, and I've always loved that about music in particular. Especially like when people get it wrong. I used to work in record stores, man, and let me tell you, ain't nothing like it, especially like during like the 2000 weird music that started to happen, and people were like, oh, do you have that Pussycat Dolls song? Don't you? Because I think of my girlfriend when I think of don't you. I was like, you think of someone that you want to cheat on your girlfriend with? When you're thinking of the song, you want to cheat on your girlfriend. Or Lips of an Angel, phenomenal love song, but he's talking to his ex-girlfriend on the phone. You know what I mean? Like
it's crazy because even in that same light, I remember I was at a bar one night and we were just talking about music, and I mentioned Reasons by Earth, Wind, Fire, and I was like, I will debate this with anybody. I was like, that is the greatest one night stand song ever written. The greatest one. And people, and like the woman sitting next to me, like she was older than me, and she was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "It's a one night stand record." And she was like, "No." I was like, "Think about the song." I was like, "You know it?" She was like, "Yeah." But she pulls out her phone, like she's reading the lyrics, and she's like, "Oh my God."
Yeah.
She was like, I was like, but it's how they sung about it. It's the delivery. I was like, you're listening to it as it's a love song. I was like, but it's a one night stand record. I was like, and it's the greatest one ever written. I can't, I was like, I'll stand on that. I'll stand 10 toes on that. I was like, because so many people, it didn't resonate with them when it first dropped. I was like, but if you really sit down and listen to what they're saying, I was like, this is a one night stand song. And so like taken from those artists, like that's where I kind of get the inspiration to write in that space and with that kind of creativity, because it can be, you can have the the sensualness and the sex appeal, but you can also not be so hypersexual with it, and whatever, and you can be clever with it. I was like, because people always get into debates. I'm like, listen, I'm not one to say, oh, the old school wasn't talking about sex in their songs. I'm like, nah, they just spoke about it differently to the point where you didn't know that's what they were talking about.
It's all about how you approach it. It really is. I mean, look at Lady Marmalade. Straight up
look at
prostitution. Like, we didn't know this. People knew it, but it wasn't like addressed like that back in the day, or when you listen to it back then.
So West Band would take your time, do it right.
Chuck Berry with My Ding-a-ling. On a children's record, bro. That's like a children's record, man.
Okay, that's So I kind of growing up on that music, like I try my best to write with that creativity and that style and that feeling, because it's what I know. Like, and I was like, now I'm like, the feeling's kind of gone, but we got to get back to it. So that's why I decided to go my music.
It's so super interesting because I mean, this is something again that has gone through. I mean, really, you want to blow everyone's mind that the song that became about women's empowerment started out for about something not so empowering towards women. Aretha Franklin's "Respect" was originally written by Otis Redding, and what that song is actually about. I'm just saying, I ain't gonna say it on air because we're gonna get kicked off. But
you're absolutely right on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. Don't want to get cocked off that station. Go right ahead, Easy Blues.
I'm just saying, if you do the research in it, you realize what actually is being requested. And it's really funny. Really, really funny. And that's all I'm going to say. But that is the beauty of it. That is that way to be that sleight of hand. Something that I love to do, like when I'm sitting and writing and stuff, I love to take those two things that contrast but have like the same type of emotion. I compare a lot of like love withdrawal with chemical withdrawal because it's relatable. I found out at a really young age, all the love songs that were ever written, if you just change the word love to drugs, it still makes sense. All you need is drugs.
Exactly.
All drugs are all you need. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's literally with everything. Like, you can do it with every song possible. So the minute you can start to do that, you get to play this word salad. And sometimes, again, it's just a duck. And sometimes it's auto-corrected. And that is one of the most beautiful things you can possibly do. And I love that you actually play with that. What is your goal for that now? Because have you listened to a breaking down of a record podcast? I forgot the name of it, but they did the Childish Gambino record because of the internet. And like, he drew a lot. Like, I listened to that whole thing and I was like, wow, I need to level up. Like, there were stories that were told throughout that entire record that I had no clue about. Is that what you do? You look back at that and now can you find your contemporaries like a Childish Gambino?
Yeah, I think because I actually haven't I gotta get into that, but yeah, there's definitely contemporaries. Because again, like Michael Prince, Stevie Wonder, there's so many, D'Angelo, because like as you said, you can mix songs with drugs, and like I wasn't in my adult years, like early 20s, and my uncle, we were talking about brown sugar, and he was like, song about heroin. I was like, huh? He was like, yeah, think about it. And I was like, let me tell you about this girl, maybe I should met her Philly, and her name was Brown Sugar. I was like, wow. Okay, got it. And so from there, like there's a lot of contemporaries of mine that I look up to in writing that there's times where I'm like, okay, how would they do it? Or how would they, or kind of just get some ideas off of stuff that they've already written. I also try to keep things try to write songs that obviously can stand the test of time. It's like no matter what era or what year you play it in, it's gonna feel the same way it did when it hit 10 years. So yeah, but I love writers that can tell stories. Those are my favorite ones, honestly. Like if you could tell a good story, I'm gonna sit down and listen to your record. And that's always been my favorite. Like you mentioned, The Devil Went Down to Georgia before we got on. That was the first country song my dad ever put me on to, and I was like, this is crazy. So it's just the storyline of it all. So I do try to draw inspiration from contemporaries such as that, but like my biggest has always been Michael, just in general. But like writing wise, between him, Prince, Babyface, Stevie, like I love their writing styles and everything that they bring to music.
That's awesome. I got a challenge for you. You ready for a challenge?
Right.
I think I came up with the concept for your next record because I'm crazy. I think you should look back, pick 10 of the best female anthem R&B songs that deal with love, right?
Right.
And write an answer back, right? For each of those songs. And just call it callback. You know what I'm saying? And like, don't even tell people what the song is. Let them try to figure it out. Like, drop clues, drop Easter eggs. But like, if you want to get into that super crazy artistic aspect, this could be your Medellin. It might drive you crazy, but I definitely think it'd be worth it, especially coming from the point of view that you come from. I've always loved, like, I love going on after a female singer songwriter or a female fronted band, because you do realize that my songs are just the male perspective of what they're going through. So that becomes a conversation. And I think you are. I'm not, don't let this get to your head or not, but I think you have the skill and the talent and the love and appreciation for real music enough to pull that off. So that is a challenge. It is on air today. Easy Bluez has challenged you.
Got it. I love it. That actually gives me a little help with the writer's block I've been having. So I'm gonna see if I can sit down and get into that, because that's actually dope. And I humbly appreciate that. That definitely is a dope idea.
Hold on, I'm now gonna add to it. So you're definitely gonna want to watch this episode back. Now, while you do that, boost up your social media presence and ask your audience what songs that you should do. Have them vote on it. Talk about the song process, and then document your writing process for the whole thing. This is something that will literally build for you on a much greater scale. And you're doing out of your, it's not going to be super marketing aspect, but it's something organic and something fun. And it's a story that no one else is telling right now. And I think you're the perfect person to tell the story. So feel free.
I love it. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely watch this back and take that advice. It actually sounds very fun.
I want to go back too. You were in a lot of musicals. Well, which was your favorite ones to perform in?
Ooh, okay. So my favorite one to perform in was probably Back to the 80s. Yeah, Back to the 80s was most likely my favorite. And that was really because of my friend at the time, when we did it together, and we both loved 80s music. But like he was like this little Italian kid, and he was like, everybody else loved 80s music, but like his 80s music that he loved and my 80s music that I loved, it went together more so than everybody else.
Okay, it was music, similar interests. Gotcha.
Similar interests. So because he loved the 80s Michael. He liked, like the Bobby Brown, like, because that's what his mom was like. He liked that era, 80s hip hop, stuff like that. So we just kind of stuck together on that, and a lot of the songs, it was easier for me to learn because I was like, I know all these songs. I grew up on 80s music, so there's not a record in this in this play that I don't know. You know, some of them kind of shocked because, you know, it was, you know, to see a black kid know like a Cyndi Lauper record. I'm like, oh, listen, all of them, everybody, I listen to everybody. It's music. If it sounds good, I'm going to listen to it. Then there was I was in West Side Story. That one was fun. That was a fun one, learning, and that was like my first one that I actually had to learn choreography because I had never really done that before. So that was a bit of a challenge, but a fun one. And then drawing a blank, there were some others, but like in middle school. So that's going back a while. But yeah, I've done and those play productions and being on stage helped me with music performance, honestly. So it, without knowing that it was gonna play into my music career, it actually helped a lot. So those were my two favorite ones that I've done thus far, and that I've been in like Christmas concerts and stuff like that. So
you were also part of a festival. It was an anti-bullying festival in New York. What was the name? Tell me about that experience. It had to be definitely inspirational.
Was it a Renaissance fair?
No,
I don't think it was a Renaissance fair. Anti-bullying. Help you.
Oh, anti-bullying. No, that's the opposite.
So yeah, like that actually was a fun time.
Yeah,
it was very inspirational to be a part of it, and I think it was saying like it was upstate Connecticut somewhere. I can't remember, or maybe like New York.
Yeah, I remember it was upstate New York.
Yeah, upstate New York. So yeah, and that kind of came out of nowhere. Didn't really, it was just like, oh, okay. Yeah, no, I'm definitely, it's a good cause. Just tell me what I need to do, where I need to be, and I'll. So, and it got a good amount of promotion, and everything like that. So that was definitely a very humbling experience to just be asked to be a part of something like that, and you know, be a part of that movement.
Now, when people call you an old soul, does it relate to just your passion of, you know, throwback music, or does it kind of give a whole teacher mentor vibe when they call you old soul?
It's my music.
Okay.
It's my music because like they know, yeah, I listen to music that is much older than me. And I truly have a love for it. So they like, oh, you got an old soul because you're listening to. They don't expect me, who was born in '91, to know about like Evelyn Champagne King like I do, or be able to be like they catch me listening to, you know, Guy and Teddy Riley records, and even though he was big in the '90s, but he was, you know, '88 and that whole New Jack Swing era and all these, and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and Tierra Marie, and they're like, "What do you like? How do you know about all this?" I'm like, I was raised on it, and it just stuck with me. It was like I was like, so my parents had the superior era of music. Like like this is like, and I never deviated. But with my music, I knew that I'd have to adjust and not come necessarily with the same exact sound. But I did my best to kind of modernize so they could understand what was going on. So yeah, so that's what it means when I'm an old soul. When people call me that, it's definitely because of the music.
Well, we're millennials, so I think we're probably like the last generation to get brought up, well, probably I think the right way when it comes to music like that, in my opinion.
We as in you two, right?
Yeah.
I'm a Gen Xer, bro.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
an
a Gen
Xer.
Xer, but I'm
I'm
just
a
saying,
Gen
like,
Xer.
in general, you know what I mean? I think millennials
Yeah.
are the last generation just to be brought up with the old school music, because like nowadays, some kids don't even know the Wu-Tang Clan. Some kids don't even know who Luther Vandross is. Some kids, I'm just being, I'm
I
just
know,
being
I
honest,
know,
easy.
but
I'm just saying a
but
majority,
no,
not all.
I get what you're saying, but
Yeah.
here's the thing. I'm not gonna blame it on the childrens, because the
Okay.
childrens, they're young, they don't know any better.
That's true.
You don't blame a dog for biting a human. You blame the bad dog owner. All right, the parents have dropped the ball, and in some
I agree.
ways, like phenomenal. But the music is still out there. To
That's
state,
true.
Josh Stone still released a record, a couple of years ago. There's
Mhm.
still, there's still these true aspects that are there. You just got to dig a little deeper. It's not being spoon fed to us through mass radio, because honestly, if we're being real, when
Right.
it comes down to actual culture, radio
Mhm.
is becoming a dead medium. Except for this show, because this show is important and you need to listen
Yeah.
to it. But
Like,
when you have the internet come through, and things are getting taken down into smaller clips, but as you dig, you can still see it. As you dig, you can still see it.
yeah,
But
and I
it's bad. It's
definitely
bad
agree.
pay. Like it's they weren't. It wasn't raised aspect. And again, that's also to deal with the social economic aspect. The parents can't be around to guide you as much, because both of them got to work 40 to 60 hours a week. And now all you're left to be raised by is the
Mhm.
idiot box or the YouTube.
Yeah.
So let's be real. We are a product of unregulated capitalism that has really dragged us down this much. They've taken the meaning out of everything the minute they mass marketed it. I'm just being real.
Yeah, but he does make a point, because like it's the owner of the dog per se. Like my cousin, but he swears he's like, my theme song is "Sensitivity" by Ralph Tresvant, and he said that to me when he was like 5. Like, so I'm like, it's like, what do you know about Ralph Tresvant? And you're 5 years old. I was like, that's crazy. So it with how I do my music, it's like you gotta kind of I don't want to say trick, but it's like you gotta kind of give them a new sound with an older sound, but with a new face. Because I know when I first did one of my songs, which was a whole new jack swing vibe, it's called "If I Want to Know What a Girl Wants." I told my producer, because he was kind of on the edge. He was like, I don't know if it's gonna work. Like, it's an older genre. Like, how are the kids gonna kind of relate to it and whatever? And I said, well, listen. I was like, dude, at the time I was like 24.
Right.
So, actually, no, I was younger than that. I was 21. So,
right.
I was like, here's what's gonna happen. I was like, it's gonna be new to them, but old to us. I was like, we know what it sounds like. Like, we know exactly how New Jack Swing sounds. We know exactly how it's gonna go, the cadence and everything. I was like, but the kids, it's gonna be new to them.
Right.
And he was like, well, when you put it like that, so we did the record. He had his nephews were in there for about the majority of the recording process. And once we finished, he told me, he was like, my nephew and my sons know your song word for word. And they were asking like when you're gonna put it out so they could like download it and stuff, because they were just hearing it from him playing it all the time.
Right.
So he was like, it's crazy how that panned out. And then years later, Bruno Mars came with 24 Karat Magic. And again, it was like I was getting phone calls. People like, yo, you've been on this, you've been doing this. I was like, like, yeah, I mean, I have, but I was like, it's Bruno. Bruno's got a bigger platform, but it's it's nothing to him. I love Bruno. But I was like, but it was the same concept. It was like, it's a new artist. It's a face of their generation. doing a sound that we know. We knew what Bruno was doing. I was like, but as far as the kids, like they have no idea what he's doing. But for them, they're like, yo, this is crazy. Like this is new. We're listening to it like, oh man, he's paying homage to Teddy Riley and the whole New Jack Swing era. He's with Uptown Funk. It was like, oh, this ain't nothing but Moore's Day and the Time. Like we know it. So it was like, yeah, see, Jungle Love. Like, so
the best is you knew that from the dance, you knew what song I was singing in my head.
Of course, like so I told you, I'm from that. I was raised on that. So when Bruno came with that, I understood it because I was like, it's essentially what I aimed to do. It was like, let's bring back this sound that we grew up on, we know and love, and we want to hear more of. But we got to modernize it and give it a new, fresh face for kids. I was like, because if Teddy Riley did that, they're not gonna gravitate to him because Teddy Riley is all about the age. It's like I don't looks old. I was like Bruno, myself, whoever else does it, if they look closer to them in age, they're gonna tune in because they're from their generation. So it definitely worked out, and I get it because it's like you can't, the kids. It's all about who's being raised on what. And like I said, when things are being so diluted and we're being pushed, we're being pushed elsewhere, and with these other types of records, it gets lost. But you definitely now have a lot though that are kind of starting to get back into it. I remember like when they did the New Edition story, like a whole bunch of kids now, like even after Bruno did 24 Karat Magic, like there were like 12-year-old musicians with talk boxes doing reels and stuff. And it's like, who do you think that they got all of this from?
Exactly.
Like nobody was messing with a talk box in the 2000s until Bruno came with 24 Karat Magic. And now they're like, wait, he's talking about like a Teddy Riley at the Grammys, and now these kids musicians are Googling these people. And learning about it, or their parents are just kind of like, "Oh yeah, Teddy, I was in my heyday when Teddy Riley was hot." So they're putting them on the records. So I love music in that sense, and when I did Feel Good, that's essentially the route I took when I did that. Was to kind of modernize that '90s sound, but make it current and feel like it just dropped in this era. I mean, which it did.
And that's the music we're going to play at the end of the hour on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island Rays, Elm City made EZ Bluez is in the building. We have a very talented Denzel Williams with us on Behind the Brand. Denzel, I hope I didn't lose your train of thought. Go right ahead.
Oh, no. I did not lose my train of thought at all. But yeah, so like I said, with Feel Good and that whole thing, writing that was, again, going back to stories. It was like full circle because I literally had a thought, and I've always been this way. It was like, yo, we got to have Feel Good music. Like, it's got to come back. Like, it's not feeling how it did. And I sat down, and I was like, I found myself one day thinking how cool it would be to hear that Feel Good music sound, make it come back in 2016. And the rest, like, it was just literally me having a thought, a personal thought, and wrote the hook, and then I was like, well, I need a rapper because people like rappers, and that's cool because I know a lot of rappers. I was like, I need a rapper. I was thinking about writing a third verse, but I was like, nah, I'm tired of writing. I'm gonna get my cousin to come through. He's good. He does good work. So called him up and sent him the record, and I was like, this is where we're going with it. And I was like, dude, just write about the music you and I grew up on and how it made you feel. Like, his dad and my dad are brothers, so we were literally raised like musically, we're the same people. So I was like, just dude, write about how music makes you feel, how hip hop makes you feel. And he did just that, and it came out to be like one of my most popular records. Not my favorite, but the most popular one that everybody really loved.
Yeah. Well, and what I really want people to truly take from this is, yeah, you know, when you're writing the song, you're looking at the potential audience, and you keep saying those kids. And I will say, sometimes, and Prestige can say, I say this a lot.
Right.
Sometimes, especially in the creative process, you got
Mm-hmm.
to Bernie Mac these kids. You know what I mean? Like, I can't say what I really want to say on air, but I'll say
Right.
you got to Bernie Mac these kids. And the reason why is because that art still needs to be created. That voice still needs. I'm gonna pop me before I release anything. If it doesn't make me go, ooh, I'm not gonna write it. I'm gonna throw it in the garbage. Like
Right.
I've thrown stuff away. And people are like, yo, that is ridiculous. I was like, that's a Tuesday. I was bored. I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
It meant
Right.
nothing to me. You know, yeah, that might have been the one night stand, the ultimate one night stand song, but I am the
Yeah.
ultimate one night stand verse writer. I'm like, nah, it wasn't anything. I'm sorry, you know. But that's,
Exactly. And
you
I
know,
get
and that right, and that's the reality that you sit and you dance within. So again, pop yourself, make
Mm-hmm.
yourself feel the track, because once you fall in love with it, someone
Mm-hmm.
else is going to fall in love with it. You know, they
Right.
say, you know, a truly wise man finds out what they love, and they find a way to make money with it, and that is how they find happiness. You know, you are not trying to fit in any type of mold. You are not just a throwback artist. You are an artist that sees it. You know, Uncle Frank Zappa said it the best. All original music has already been done by dudes that are dead in powdered wigs. Just do you.
yeah.
You know, you're not going to have an original thought because there's only so many notes that are out there. There's
Mm-hmm.
only a certain amount of chords that are out there. There's only a
Mm-hmm.
certain amount of ways you can put these chords together that are out there. So forget about just, and when you can take those moments. One of the things, and not to hype up my own self, but I'm gonna hype up my own self right
I
now.
do that.
One of the
Do that.
things that's incredible with Shane Penguin is we have four different perspectives that sit down and write. We have four different influences that sit down and write, where we can bring a pop punk drummer into, you know, more of an experimental or you know, Funk Brothers type of bass player in with a more of a pop or metal centric, emo centric guitar player, and then a soul writer, soul singer aspect, being a blue eyed soul man as I am, as the front
Indeed.
of it. That's what makes it original, because instead of us trying to instead of us trying to force our solo opinion on it, we're having a conversation and compromise and making something new that still makes people feel like they've heard it before because they felt it. Not
Exactly.
because, you know, they felt it and they felt that point of view. That's one of the things that I absolutely love about your catalog of work. And I love that you can sit here and be as passionate. You know what it took to write Feel Good. You know what it took. You can go right back to that moment. And that's what I think people got lost in. You know,
Yeah.
everyone wants to manufacture it, get it out as quick as possible, do what you got to do. Nah, man, take your time. You know,
Yeah.
they say Rome wasn't built in a day, but let's be real. I don't care about Rome. You know what I mean? But the painting of the Sistine Chapel, that wasn't done in 35 minutes.
Sure enough, wasn't.
You know what I mean?
And
So
that's why,
that's
you
me.
know, I try to tell people because it's like I'd rather take the time to write a record that I know is gonna sit with people. Like
Mm-hmm.
again, I grew up on timeless music, so
Right.
it'd be a disservice to the people that I look up
Right.
to not contribute to the timeless music. So yeah, with songs like "Feel Good" and "Back to Love," it's like it's all stuff that people can relate to, and at some point be like, yeah, I want that. We need that back, or oh, like I want to know what a girl wants. Somebody from Canada, um, Kenny B. Smooth on IG. He big New Jack head, but he heard that
Mm-hmm.
record. He dedicated it to his girl. And I never met him before in my life. He had just heard my record on Instagram. He heard a snippet, went listened to the rest of the song, and he was like, "Yeah, I still listen to that to this day." And that song is going to be about 10 years old in about a year or so, in about another few months. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like to write songs like that for me is what means more. But like you said, there's it's got to hit with you, the artist first, Feel Good, I honestly was kind of like, eh. My cousin was the featured artist.
Wow.
He was more. I really think that he knew what it was going to do before I did. He was like, oh, this is going. He's like, yo, this is dope. He's like, this is gonna hit. And I was like, we'll see. I was like, I'm hoping.
Right.
Like, I was kind of like, I don't know. Like I knew, but for me, I was like, I love the hook. I love the chorus. I love everything about this record. But at the time, I was kind of like, the way that the kind of music our era is kind of leaning to. I was like, I don't know. Like, I was like, only hope. And we dropped it, and it got a reaction that I was like, okay, like I have to start marketing this song. The first song of mine that I've ever had to really market. I was like, oh, so y'all really like this record? So let me market this the best way I know how. Let me get some merch together. Let me do a video. Because I was like, I didn't expect this to happen. Like, I didn't expect y'all to react this way to this record.
And you want to know something? We're talking about reaction, and we're talking about that. Unfortunately, we have to react to the fact that they're trying to pull the Apollo curtain on us right now and call it a day. But right now, we want to give you this time to market this correctly and tell people how they can reach out and touch you, how they can invest in you, how they can listen to your music, buy your merch. This time is yours. Denzel, it has been an honor and a privilege, but sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Same. It's been an honor. Appreciate you guys for having me on. So
thank you.
You can find me on all social media platforms. So Instagram is going to be _Denzel Williams Music. On Twitter, it's going to be the R&B Smooth, THEE R the letter NB Smooth. That's on Twitter. But you can also just go to my official website where all of that is just one click away, where you can find music, you can look at my merch, you can see an interview that I did with My City Initiative. Shout outs to them. So that's all on my website. Facebook, if you want to follow me on there, is Denzel Williams. Very simple. I keep it easy. And then, like I said, my music is on all major platforms: Spotify, Tidal, Apple, Deezer, wherever you get your music to stream, you can find it there. But definitely go check out my website because it's a one-stop shop. Everything you need is right there. I kept it easy for the people.
Appreciate you, Denzel. Thank you so much. We're going to premiere your song Loving You on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, EZ Bluez. Thanks for being on the show. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you.
Definitely.
Awesome. Music.
From your head down to your feet, the way you move, girl, makes my heart just skip a beat. I can't deny it, the way you make me feel. You're my candy coated rain, my 90s love, you so for real. And how you soothe me so effortlessly, girl, it's amazing. Your vibe always got me craving for more of you. You're that drug I always need, a fix of that thing that I can't get enough of. Girl, all of you is the reason I feel like this now, baby. Loving you feels so good. To know you're always there right by my side makes me feel so good inside. Loving you feels so good. Wouldn't trade it for the world, even if I could. Even if I could. I can't get you off my mind. Always on my brain. You're the only girl that I would ever lend on me insane. Can't first time that I laid my eyes, and it's just